Hi guys, welcome back to another video. This video is called How to Die in a Board Game. So the title is kind of a misnomer title. It's really not about death or dying or how to be bad at board games. I just really like the title. What I want to talk about is I want to talk about cooperative games. And so I'm going to be basically doing my regular format where there will be two parts to the video. The first part is kind of me rambling, talking about different aspects, and we're going to be talking about cooperative games in this video. And then the second aspect is going to be me showing off some games, kind of like how most of my videos work. So cooperative games are probably some of my favorite games. I love, while I do not consider myself a puzzle type of person, I do like working with other people to put together essentially kind of a puzzle, such as like you go here, I do this, we can do this. You know, we're working together to beat a game or beat a scenario within a game. I do like cooperation. It inspires a lot of things. There's lots of like tests that have been done. There's like lots of psychology behind fair play, the collaborative process, being able to have shared experiences together, shared positive experiences, being able to overcome something. It's like we lost this game 4 times in a row and like, oh, finally we did it, good job, a high five everyone. There's a dopamine rush there. I can say really quickly that I have a personal story. For me, there's a game called Marvel Legendary where there's a certain scenario that someone told me about. They read online that they said, oh, it's impossible. Well, my friend and I sat down, 2 players. We played that game over and over and over. I think we lost 4, 5, 6 times in a row, and then we finally beat it. We spent the entire evening trying to beat this thing that this guy on my Facebook said, like, no, there's no way to beat it. And we actually beat it. We didn't cheat. It was just high fives. It was amazing. And so cooperative games allow us to not only experience those moments, those what I call positive shared experiences, but also to kind of get to know each other and to see how people react within games in a more collaborative way. Cooperative games are great for new players to the hobby because there's really not a right or wrong move. And if you have a question about something, we're all playing together, so someone's going to help you. Someone will explain what your card does or what this means or where you can go to find more oil for your group or whatever the case may be. And so I think cooperative games, outside of light family games like a Ticket to Ride, cooperative games are really great to introduce to new players because it's one of the biggest things, and this is something that I've seen even recently when I was teaching a game to a woman, actually a couple of games, is there's this fear in people's face of, I don't know what to do, I don't want to look stupid, I don't want to do something wrong, I don't want to have it be my turn and do something and have people think, you should have done that, you should have gone over here, I'm totally going to take this from you now, haha, 5 points to zip, I'm winning. And people don't want that feeling. They don't like that feeling. They like the feeling of knowing what they're doing, being in charge of what they're doing, you know, having some sort of hope instead of this hopelessness feeling of like, I really don't know. And the feeling of being dumb. Nobody wants to feel dumb. So cooperative games is a really great way to mitigate all of those feelings and some of those jitters for new players that are just like, this seems maybe too complicated for me, or there's too much strategy and too many rules going on for them. Hey, we're all working together, so it's fine. We're going to take it slow, and I'll explain things as we go and help you with questions on like a card or where you can go to do things or what we need, how much food we need, or we're going to die, or whatever, things like that. So cooperative games are definitely up there for me. I do enjoy a good competitive game every once in a while, but I think for the most part, I prefer cooperative games. 51% of the time. So I would probably say the majority, meaning 51%. And here's another reason why. As I started my channel basically just talking about narratives. And when it comes to narratives, that's the cooperative experience. It really is. You get legacy games, you get campaign games, you get choose your own adventure type games. These are all cooperative games. And so I think in my brain synapses, I've connected cooperativity, cooptitude, nature with story, with narrative. And so there are a few narrative games out there that are not cooperative. Near and Far would be one of them. It's a campaign game that's not cooperative. There's a legacy style game right over here, actually called Charterstone, that is a worker placement legacy game. That's a story game that is not cooperative. It's definitely a competitive game. So there's some exceptions to the rules, but there are a lot of games out there that are the rule. It's like, this is a great story to this game that we're playing together and we're experiencing this together. And so what I want to talk about more specifically, moving into the second part of the video, is this sense of hopelessness. So this is going to run in tandem with a blog post that's on the As Per My Ability website about hopelessness. That feeling where you know you're not going to win. There's nothing you can do. You are going to lose. You're going to sit there and stare at the board. You're going to look at it where all the miniatures are. You're going to look at the pieces. You're going to stare at your cards. You're going to try to analyze. You're going to AP every single thing, but you just feel completely hopeless because you're not going to win this game. And guess what? There's still 4 rounds left. You're not even halfway through the game. And so what do you do when you feel completely hopeless? Hopelessness is the inability to construct a positive future. That's kind of what I'm going off of. So that blog post you can check out on the website is kind of running with this video in tandem of hopelessness. So I was thinking about games that give me that feeling of hopelessness. Basically, these are games that I'm going to talk about in the next minute that I absolutely love, but they are punishing. Man, are they tough. Some of the games that I'm about to bring out, I have not won. I've never won, but I still play them, and I'm still playing through the story or through the scenarios or offering or taking whatever they offer up to me because they're just fun. They have that entertainment factor, but there's that feeling of like hopelessness of you play with your friends and you're just like, this is really tough. So I'm going to try to not make this be a super huge video. I originally wanted to just sit and talk for a long time about all these cooperative games and all this different cooptitude nature and fair play and narratives within all these games, but I'm just going to jump into sharing some games and talking about them, talking about this hopelessness feeling, about how you can feel these deep feelings that you get in real life, but in a safe manner in a board game. Because at the end of the day, we get to clear the pieces, we get to pack up the board, you get to go home. You get to lay in your bed at home. The Monopoly money that you lost, that you went bankrupt, isn't real money. And so by having those experiences in these games, by experiencing those, it kind of gives us the tools that we need in order to build, to grow, to have cognition, I guess, to learn about ourselves when we have those feelings out in the real world. It's not a one-to-one, it's not a direct transpose or whatever, extrapolation, but it is building a few little Legos in these big building blocks of what do I do when I get mad because things are not going my way? What do I do? How do I feel when I feel hopeless? You know, and these deep emotions that board games can bring out, because people do get mad when things don't go their way in board games. People do feel hopeless in board games, like, I don't know what to do. I'm not going to win. I can try. I've analyzed every single thing, and there's no way that I'm going to figure out this game and win. And you and I are going to sit at this table, and we're going to look each other in the face and just go, I have no clue. I don't know what to do. So those kind of feelings are very, very real world feelings, but like the blog says, it's all about you go home and what you do when you lift your head up from that tear-soaked pillow. You move on. You have these tools. You have the tools by playing these games to kind of continue on with your life, or to use these tools as like coping mechanisms for those feelings of hopelessness. All right, so on to the games. So I'm focusing on 3 games here. They are all cooperative, and they are all incredibly punishing. They are very, very difficult. As I said, some of these games I haven't even won. So the first game I'm going to talk about, I'm going to show off here, is called This War of Mine, the board game. There is a video game called This War is Mine. This is based off of that video game. This is a cooperative survival horror-ish type of game where you're working together to survive a civil war that has broke out in your area. There's tanks in the streets, there are bombs going off. You're living in a abandoned house, trying to stay alive, trying not to get shot by a sniper, trying not to get blown up, trying not to have your tank come and roll through your house and kill you. So it's kind of apocalyptic feel to it. It's very deep. It's very dense. It's incredibly punishing. I have not won this game at all. I've made it to 3 turns, I think. Maybe 3.5 turns before I've either lost the game or I've summed up in my head, I'm going to stop because I've just lost the game. And so this War of Mine is one that's very tough. It's a companion to another one you probably can't see on the shelf. It's called Robinson Crusoe. Robinson Crusoe 2nd edition plays a lot of the same way of This War of Mine. Plays kind of the same. Just different themes, being stuck on an island, starving, trying to build a shelter, trying to stay alive, being stuck in a building during the Civil War, starving, trying to stay warm, trying to stay alive. Just different themes, but they feel the same. They're very punishing, and they're very just like, we can't win. We're barely treading water. Because treading water in these games, just keeping yourself barely alive is like, we're doing okay. We're just doing okay so far. And so these are some good games, Robinson Crusoe and This War of Mine. I want to share a very quick story about This War of Mine. The designers, I believe there's 2 of them, they were inspired by the Civil War in Sarajevo, which is in Bosnia, and they wanted to come up with a game that was thematically like that, a civil war. And there is someone who lived through the Civil War in Sarajevo that played the game and wrote to the designers, either wrote or emailed. I don't really know the exact extent of this story, that said, you guys nailed it. The feeling that you have of trying to survive, trying to just have enough drinking water, scared to go outside, scared to run into other people. Are they militant? Are they going to hurt you? Are they going to hurt your family? He was like, kudos, that game, just being someone that lived through it, he highly recommended it. So that's that one. Well, we're going to move on to fantasy, generic fantasy. We're going to have some mages and wizards and some dwarves and warriors. Oh. And that's called, next one's called Legends of Andor. And this is a huge trilogy. This is the first, think of like Lord of the Rings movies. This is the first movie in the Legend of Andor movies. The other 2 are behind me here somewhere. Episode 2, not episode, but like movie 2 and movie 3, the final chapter or whatever. This is, again, cooperative game where you're really not doing a dungeon crawl. You've got a map of some bad guys that are kind of attacking the castle. But this game is very unique. As you can tell, it won some awards, and it is very difficult. It is very hard. I have not won, just like This War of Mine, I have not won a single game. No, take that back. I've won 1 game with a caveat that we kind of forgot to trigger a rule a couple of times. We went back and realized we probably would have won anyways, but a legit straight win, I have not won of Legends of Andor. It's a fun game. All of these games are super fun, but they invoke this feeling of like, what are we going to do? How are we going to handle this? I feel so hopeless now. How am I going to deal with these feelings? Like packing everything up and walking away and going, man, that was not a very hopeful game. It was kind of a downer experience. But I kind of learned something from these feelings because we are always learning, right? The unexamined life is not worth living. So everything is a new experience to like learn something about ourselves. And guess what? Board games, they're on the list for ways for us to learn about ourselves. Hence this channel. The last one I'm going to talk about is one of my favorite games of all time. It's probably going to be in my top 5 for a long time. It came out in 2016. It's still going strong as far as I know. Yeah, it's definitely still going strong. Again, it's a cooperative game. It takes place in the Cthulhu mythos, the H.P. Lovecraft. And I've talked about it before on this channel a few times. It's called Arkham Horror, the card game. All the cards are out. I just have the box here. This game is a cooperative kind of deck building, character, story driven game where you're playing a campaign of investigators researching whatever the campaign is, supernatural things of witches and some stuff happening in Arkham. The setting moves around and things like that. But anyways, the story's great. The game itself is tougher than nails. I have rage quit this game probably 3 times now, where it's just like, this is so frustrating. These guys just don't make this scenario to where you can win. There's no way to win. I just get so upset. I'm just done with this game. And then I come back. I own everything for this game, by the way. All the cards, all the sets, all the expansions, all the campaigns. I keep coming back. So it's like, that's the last one, Arkham Horror. So it's like, why do we do this? Why, as gamers, do we come to these games that are like, they're impossible to win? Now, I say impossible, not necessarily meaning literally impossible, but they're nearly impossible. They're super difficult to win. But yet we still come back just trying to have that moment, that dopamine rush of like, we did it. We did win it. We finally won a game of Andor. Holy bejesus, we actually did it. Until then, there's always the search, the want of it, the want of that feeling of like, we did it. And then you'll probably lose track of the game or lose focus of the game. Because all these games I still currently play. I still put out to the board. I still will play them. Arkham Horror I have played, and I've beaten a few scenarios, but man, I haven't beaten a lot of them. Most of the time I lose the scenarios, or we lose. There's a guy named Jacques Lacan, who is a French philosopher, who said, horror movies usually say, be careful what you wish for, because you just might get it. Okay? Jacques Lacan basically said, be careful what you wish for, not because you might get it, but because you're doomed to not want it once you have it. So that's how it works with a lot of these cooperative games, and that's how it works in real life too, because sometimes it's the want, the desire of it that gets us up, gets us dressed, gets us showered, shaved, shirt, shoes shoved off, and that gets us going because we have the desire for something, because that's what we wish for in life. Now, if you bring it down to the board gaming world, yeah, I wish for Arkham Horror to be less punishing. I wish for it to be more rewarding. I wish for Legends of Andor to be able to win out the whole scenario and be like, the heroes win in the end. But if I did, I would probably lose interest in the game. And I'd be like, I'm over it. I beat it. I'm done. And so sometimes, like Lacan says, be careful what you wish for. Not because you'll get it, but because you're doomed to not really want it once you get there. And so these are ways of how to die in a board game. There's 3 or 4 if you count Robinson Crusoe. Really good examples of games you can run out on Amazon and pick up if you want a game that is just going to punish you over and over and over again until you finally somehow come up with a way to beat the game. If you do, let me know and write out a strategy book or something. I would definitely love some help with, especially Legends of Andor. So that's it for me. How to die in a board game. Thank you for watching, as per my ability, and as always, I will see you all at the next video. Bye.